Good evening, Cleveland and Columbus sports fans. This is Jenn B, and you are listening to the Show of the Land on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Tonight, we are going to talk about the sad fate of the Browns. That's all I have to say about that. Then we will talk about some college football. Also, not the greatest news, at least in the Ohio State area of things. Then we will move on to the Columbus Crew, who are wrapping up their season this Saturday. We will talk about how the Cavs preseason is going. We will talk about the Guardians in the ALDS and moving on to the ALCS and how things are going there, plus a little other news with the Guardians. Then we will get into some hockey and talk some Monsters and Blue Jackets. So stay right here listening to the Show of the Land on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Welcome to the Show of the Land with a Jenn B here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Before we get into the sports, we are going to hear a little word from our wonderful sponsors, Planet Jerky Premium Brisket Beef Jerky, Seal the Deal Wax Seals, and of course from IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. So stay right here while we listen to those. And when we get back, we will talk some football and football.
IE Sports Radio fans, this show is brought to you by Planet Jerky Premium Brisket Beef Jerky. Planet Jerky is the official jerky of the 2022 California League champion Lake Elsinore Storm, single A affiliate of the San Diego Padres. This all brisket jerky has gluten-free options, contains no MSG, no sodium nitrate, is low in sugar, and high in protein. Go to their website at planetjerky.net and follow them on Instagram at Planet Jerky. Planet Jerky, the jerky that's on a whole other planet.
Hey there, IE Sports Radio fans. Be sure to check out our sponsor, Seal the Deal Wax Seals by Cecilia B. You just finished your very own wedding or baby shower invitations and you're looking for that extra special touch? Maybe you just wrote a letter to a relative or a friend and you want to add to their smile when they receive it. Then seal the deal with Cecilia's handmade sealing wax stamps for your invitations, letters, and gifts. You bring the deal, we'll bring the seal. You can find them on Instagram at sealthedeal_wax stamps and on Facebook, Seal the Deal Wax Seals.
For the last 10 years, IE Sports Radio has been bringing you amazing content ranging from interviewing legendary athletes, coaches, and other authorized media personnel to building tailor-made shows dedicated to all major sports cities around the country. Make sure to follow us at IE Sports Radio on X, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and YouTube to keep up with the latest in sports and with all of our shows. Also, make sure to check out our daily updated website at iesportsradio.com. At iesportsradio.com, you can see our daily show schedule and check out all of our show pages with personal bios to learn a little bit more about each of our awesome hosts. In addition to our show pages, you can catch the IE Sports Radio blog, Hall of Fame, Fans of the Month page, and our merchandise shop, including t-shirts, tank tops, caps, long sleeves, hoodies, and more. For now over a decade here at IE Sports Radio, we've continued to be by the fans, for the fans, and we thank you all for your support and for making IE Sports Radio your direct feed for all that is sports.
Welcome back to the show of the land with Jenn B on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. We are going to start off talking some Cleveland Browns. Before that, though, let's just give a real quick shout out once again to our wonderful sponsors, Planet Jerky Premium Brisket Beef Jerky, the jerky that's on a whole other planet. You can place your orders at planetjerky.net. It is the best beef jerky out there. And Seal the Deal Wax Seals. You can place your orders right there on the IE Sports Radio website /Seal the Deal Wax Seals. It is the perfect finish to your wedding invitations, baby shower invitations, whatever invitations you might have, letters and gifts. And of course, be sure to follow IE Sports Radio at IE Sports Radio on X, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and YouTube. If you missed the live show, you can catch the audio playback on all of these wonderful options: Apple Podcasts, Spreaker, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Google Podcast, Amazon Music, etc., etc. And be sure to check out our website. On the website, you can find my show page for the show of the land. It has a little bio about me. There's links to all of my previous shows and things of that nature. And you can follow the show on X at Show of the Land IE. And you can follow me personally at Believe Land Girl. I am on X, Instagram, Threads, and also on TikTok, but that one is Jenn.BelieveLand, and that's Jenn with 2 N's. Now, let's get into these sports. Browns. Ugh. It's not been a fun season so far, has it, guys? Not a fun season at all, as Taryn in the comments says. He says, have an amazing show. And then he says, Cleveland and Columbus have had it tough the past couple of days, but there's power and pride. Yeah, it's been tough for some of the teams. Some of the other teams, not so much, but we will get into that as we get further into the show. This is one of the teams that it's been tough for. But before we get into how tough it's been, let's talk about some roster changes that have happened over the past week. The Browns waived guard Javen Cohen, defensive tackle Sam Kamara, and tight end Blake Whiteheart. They also released linebacker Michael Barrett, running back Royce Freeman, and offensive tackle Ricky Lee from the practice squad. They placed long snapper Charlie Hewlett and offensive tackle James Hudson on the IR. More injuries, yay. They signed long snapper Rex Sanahara and tight end Jeff Swaim to the active roster. They activated defensive tackle Mo Hurst and linebacker Mahmoud Diabate for return from IR. They signed safety Trey Dean and defensive end Marcus Haynes to the practice squad. They also activated defensive tackle Michael Hall Jr. from the commissioner's exempt list / suspension list. They terminated the contract of wide receiver James Prochet II. For the Eagles game specifically, they elevated safety Christopher Edmonds and wide receiver Jalen Darden from the practice squad. And just today, the Browns traded wide receiver Amari Cooper and a 2025 sixth-round pick to the Buffalo Bills for a 2025 third-round pick and a 2026 seventh-round pick. So the Amari Cooper era in Cleveland is officially finito. I can't say that I'm sad about this. Now, if you had asked me 6 or 7 weeks ago how I would feel about an Amari Cooper trade, my reaction would have been different. However, it was very evident in the way Amari Cooper has been playing over the last 6 weeks that he does not want to be here. And either that or he's lost a step. And if either way, good luck, Buffalo. He is gone, and so be it. And Patty is in the chat saying, I imagine it has been a rough day for Browns fans. Honestly, Patty, I couldn't care less that Amari Cooper is gone at this point. He has been nothing but terrible so far this season. He can't catch throws that hit him right in the hands. So, I mean, it is what it is. If he doesn't want to be here, we don't want him here. I mean, up until this season started, I absolutely loved Amari Cooper, but I have not loved what I have seen so far this season. So, I wish him all the best in Buffalo. Hopefully he can figure it out. Hopefully it isn't that he's losing a step. Maybe it's just that he didn't want to be here. I don't know. He has not really said much. I know he made a post on Instagram today. I have not had a chance to look at it. I just got off work right before I started the show, so I haven't seen the actual post yet. But I mean, like I said, if he doesn't want to be here, we don't need him here. Something's got to change on this offense, and maybe moving Amari Cooper is that change that needs to happen. We shall see. On to more bad news. Injuries. Center Nick Harris, who started in place of injured Ethan Posick, fractured his fibula in the Eagles game, and the injury will require surgery, so he is most likely done for the season. Running back Jerome Ford left the game with a hamstring injury, and he did not return and is currently listed as week to week. Now for the wonderful game. Well, it wasn't horrible, but it wasn't great either. The Browns lost to the Eagles 20-16. As I already said, Nick Harris left the game with a fractured fibula. So Michael Dunn, guard Michael Dunn, took over at center for the rest of the game, which put Zach Zinter back in at guard at right guard with Wyatt Teller on the IR. They had replaced Zach Zinter with Michael Dunn, but Michael Dunn had to move over to center, so Zach Zinter was back in. So the offensive line was not any better than they have been, unfortunately. There were a couple of times that Deshaun Watson had some time, not a whole lot of times. It was ugly. The defense did play better. Right before halftime, Myles Garrett blocked another field goal, and Rodney McLeod returned it for a touchdown, and that tied the game at 10 going into the half. So I had a little bit of hope, a little bit. The Browns have not given much to hope for, so at a little bit, I was cautiously optimistic. However, the second half started and all optimism was gone. The offense was still abysmal. Deshaun Watson did have a couple of nice throws, one to Amari Cooper, one to Jerry Jeudy, and more than more than one to David Njoku. Elijah Moore also got hurt. It was a knee injury. I have not yet seen an update on that. Kevin Stefanski is pretty strict about not giving true updates unless it's like a serious injury until Wednesday when they start practicing again for the following week. So we should probably know more tomorrow. He may have said Elijah Moore's status and I missed it, but he did leave the game with a knee injury and did not return. But yeah, I mean there wasn't a whole lot to write home about on this offense. Pierre Strong played pretty well. Deontay Foreman had a couple of decent runs, but there was a touchdown or near touchdown. I can't remember if he actually scored or if it was just shy. It might have been just shy, but it was called back because of a penalty. So the penalties are still a problem. And a lot of these penalties, like people are calling for people's heads and for changes to be made. But if you really look at it, they have not had the same offensive line play a single game, I don't think. There has been at least one person different almost every week, if not every week. So when you're changing things that much on the offensive line, there's going to be some chemistry and communication issues, unfortunately. It's just the nature of the beast. And I don't know how they fix it, but they've got to figure it out. There was a face mask called on Amari Cooper that blew up a huge play that originally we thought was going to be defensive pass interference, but turned out to be a face mask on Amari Cooper. So that just pretty much destroyed the Browns' chances of getting the win. So, it is what it is. Next week, Sunday at 1 p.m. Eastern, the Browns will be taking on the Cincinnati Bengals at Cleveland Browns Stadium. And yes, I know it's Huntington Bank Stadium, but I will not call it that. It is Cleveland Browns Stadium forever and always, as far as I'm concerned. The Bengals aren't doing a whole heck of a lot better than the Browns, so we'll see. This should be an interesting game. The Browns generally play very well against the Bengals, and the Bengals generally play very poorly against the Browns. So maybe we'll get win number 2 this week, but like I said, cautious optimism. Cautious. Very cautious optimism. That is going to do it for the Browns. We are going to move on to some college football, and this is not a whole heck of a lot better. Number 4, that's right, they are now number 4. Ohio State Buckeyes played the number 2, yes, they are now number 2, Oregon Ducks on Saturday and lost 32-31. It was not a great game for Ohio State. They had mistakes all around. The defensive backs couldn't keep up with Oregon's wide receivers. Horrendous time management, especially at the end of the game. They had a chance to win it, and Will Howard, for whatever reason, with 10 seconds left on the clock, decided to run up the middle and run the clock out. So they had no chance to kick the field goal or do anything to win the game because time expired. Ohio State is on a bye week this week. Their next game will be October 26th, which is a very sad day for me. It is my father's birthday and the anniversary of my mother's passing. So I may or may not watch that game. We will see what kind of mood I am in. Now for the Purple Raiders, who played significantly better than the Ohio State Buckeyes. The number 3 Mount Union Purple Raiders played Wilmington on Saturday. It was their homecoming game, and they won with a resounding score of 78-19. Is the second highest point total in school history. So congratulations to Mount Union. At least somebody in Ohio won on Saturday. Wait a minute. Oh, the Guardians won on Saturday too, but we're not there yet. We're not there yet. But the Guardians also won on Saturday. But and so did the Crew. So it was just Ohio State losing on Saturday. So screw Ohio State, right? Anyway, Mount Union's next game is this Saturday at 1:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and they will be playing Heidelberg. So good luck to the Purple Raiders as they take on Heidelberg. I'm sure it will be another win, and maybe they can move up from number 3. Maybe not. We shall see. I don't know. I have a feeling they're not moving up from number 3 unless 1 or 2 lose and or they play 1 or 2 and win. So we'll see. But for right now, they are still number 3. Oh, Patty says, I hope we get the better version of him. I hope for the Bills' sake that you do as well. I am not sure. Like I said, I'm not sure what is going on with him. I don't know if it's that he didn't want to be here, so he was just intentionally playing like crap or what. He did hold out, so he didn't participate in the training camp and things like that. I mean, he participated in part of training camp, but not all of it. And he wasn't in OTAs or any of that stuff. And they were instituting a new offense. So it could be that. Who knows? I don't know. And then Patty says, so sorry, Jen. Thanks, Patty. It's all right. It's all right. I have decided that football is not my thing right now. I am going to root my bouquet off for the Crew and the Guardians and the Blue Jackets and shortly the Cavs. And maybe by the time the Guardians are done playing, the Browns will figure out how to win football games. We'll see. But for now, I'm 100% all in on the Guardians. Now for the Columbus Crew. Saturday, they played New England and they won 4-0. It was their last home match of the season. DeJuan Jones scored a goal at 4 minutes, starting things off. Alex Matan then scored a hat trick with goals at 14 minutes, 64 minutes, and 72 minutes. So congratulations to Alex Matan. The Crew recorded a club record 69 goals on the season so far. They still have 1 match left to play. And it is the first time in club history that every home match was a sellout. They also set a club record with 18 wins on the season. So far, they still have 1 match left, so they may surpass that record on Saturday and make it 19. And of course, Alex Matan was named man of the match. And it was all around a great match for the Crew. Their last match of the season will be this coming Saturday, and they will be in New York against the Red Bulls at 6 p.m. Eastern Time. And like I said, that is their final match of the regular season. Then we will get some playoff schedules, and we'll see who the Crew will be playing in the playoffs. They are going to finish the season as the number 2 team in the Eastern Conference. They are far enough ahead of Cincinnati that Cincinnati can't catch them, and Miami already secured the number 1 seed. So the Crew will have the number 2 seed in the Eastern Conference, and we'll see what they decide to do against the Red Bulls if everyone plays or not. Everyone did not play against New England. They did have a bunch of FIFA call-ups. So Alex Matan stepped up big time. So I don't know what the situation will be with the roster for Saturday, but I wouldn't be surprised if they decide to wait and see what happens. Or I'm sorry, not wait and see what happens, to hold out some of their better players to get them, especially if any of them have any minor injuries or anything, give them a little bit of rest before the playoffs get started. But good luck to the Crew on Saturday in their final regular season match. Patty says he may not have wanted to play with Watson. That is possible, though I find that hard to believe because he played with Watson all last season and, until Watson got hurt, of course. But he played equally well with Watson in at quarterback last year as he did with any of the other 4 quarterbacks that started. Well, 3 because he didn't play with the 5th one. Because that was just the last game of the season and most of the starters didn't play. But so I don't know that that's it. And even if that is it, he shouldn't have agreed to the restructure. If that is it, he shouldn't have agreed to the restructure of the contract. He should have just requested a trade. But it is what it is. It's over. He's gone. We move on. Jerry Jeudy, I guess, is now our number 1 wide receiver. So, I guess that justifies the $17 million they paid him per year over the summer. So, it is what it is. But that is going to wrap things up for the football and football. I am going to take a short break. And when I come back, we will talk basketball and baseball. So stay right here with the Show of the Land with Jenn B on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all of that is sports. And I'll be right back after this.
It's IE Sports Radio. It is your direct feed for all that is sports. It is Philly Sports Talk with Cash and Chris every Tuesday night right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Philly Sports Talk with Cash and Chris is the most comprehensive view on Philadelphia sports exclusively right here on IE Sports Radio. You know what it is, your direct feed for all that is sports. Tuesday night, IE Sports Radio, Philly Sports Talk with Cash and Chris.
What's up, New York? This is Ricky K coming at you at the NY State of Sports, a new show here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Listen to me every Thursday afternoon as we bring you the latest takes on the Yankees, Mets, Jets, Giants, Knicks, Nets, Rangers, Devils, and Islanders. Plus, you get some college hoops and what's the local sports events going on in the area. It's a state that never sleeps, so why not get the opinions and sports takes that never sleep? Again, every Thursday, 2 p.m. to the NY State of Sports. We'll see you then.
Welcome back to the show of the land with Jenn B on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Be sure to check out our other shows. You just heard from Philly Sports Talk with Cash and Chris, which will be on later tonight, and the New York State of Sports with Ricky K, which is on Monday afternoons. And we will be talking about some of Ricky's teams here coming up. Now for the Cavaliers. Preseason started this past week. Last Tuesday, the Cavs played the Chicago Bulls and lost 116 to 112. They were winning the majority of the game, but once the starters went out, they fell behind and couldn't get that four points to tie it up. The starting lineup initially was Darius Garland, Donovan Mitchell, Max Strus, Evan Mobley, and Jarrett Allen, the normal starting lineup for the last two seasons. Ty Jerome has returned after missing most of last season with an ankle injury that ended up requiring surgery. And Max Strus left in the second quarter with a hip contusion. Thursday, they played game 2 of the preseason and took on the Indiana Pacers. They lost 129 to 117. However, the only starter who played was Jarrett Allen. So not a big surprise there. Kenny Atkinson's kind of trying to get a feel for what the backups can do, who's good at what, and how to best use them. So it makes sense that he would play them more in the preseason than the normal starters, because all you have to do is watch a few of the Cavs games to see what the starters can do. Plus, he's been, with them all summer as well. Next up for the Cavs, they will play also in preseason tomorrow against the Detroit Pistons, and then Friday they will wrap up preseason against the Chicago Bulls, and the regular season will start next Wednesday, the 23rd, and they will be playing the Toronto Raptors. So pretty soon we'll be having some basketball, some real basketball, some meaningful basketball. But until then, we have the Guardians. So first, we're going to talk about how they wrapped up the ALDS game 3 against the Tigers. They lost 3-0. Unfortunately, they were getting hits and base runners, but just could not find a way to score the runs, sadly, which made game 4 an elimination game. And the Guardians came back and won it 5-4. They were down, and David Fry came in as a pinch hitter and had a pinch hit go-ahead 2-run home run, which was the first ever in Cleveland franchise history in the playoffs. That is, in the postseason. And Emmanuel Clase recorded the save, which brought on game 5 on Saturday. This game was originally scheduled for 4:38 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Then when the Yankees knocked out the Royals, they changed the game time for this to 8:08 p.m. Then they checked the weather and they rescheduled it for 1:08 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So it ended up being at 1:08. The Guardians won 7-3, Lane Thomas hit a grand slam in the fifth off Tariq Skubal to give the Guardians the lead. And Emmanuel Clase had a 6-out save, which was the first 6-out save of his career. So it was beautiful. When Lane Thomas hit that grand slam, I started crying. My daughter was making fun of me all afternoon because every time she walked in the living room, I was crying because the Guardians were winning and I couldn't believe my eyes because I wasn't sure what to expect after they lost game 3 and the Tigers were up 2-1 in the series. In a 5-game series, that's a little scary, especially knowing that we had to face Skubal again. But they did it. They got the win. They beat him. And now they move on to the ALCS. They are facing the New York Yankees in the ALCS. Game 1 was yesterday, and the Guardians lost 5-2. Honestly, going into this game, I did not expect the Guardians to get a win in this one in particular. Alex Cobb got the start. He has not pitched much, and when he has pitched, it hasn't been spectacular. He was doing pretty well in the regular season before he hurt his finger, but since then, he hasn't pitched much, and when he has pitched, it hasn't been great. He started out well. The first inning went fairly well, but after that, he kind of fell off, and you could tell something was bothering him, and something wasn't right. And at one point, Stephen Vogt, Carl Willis, and the trainer went out to the mound. So that was interesting. They did not pull him at that point, but it wasn't too long after that they ended up pulling him. Brian Rocchio hit his first career postseason home run. Stephen Kwan set the franchise record for consecutive playoff games with a hit at 11, surpassing Kenny Lofton. And Joey Cantillo came in as relief after Cobb, and he was absolutely terrible. He had multiple wild pitches. I do put part of the blame on Bo Naylor. A couple of them, he should have been able to contain, but didn't. But unfortunately, that is what got the Yankees on the board, and it was just downhill from there. But the Guardians did manage to score, so they didn't get shut out. So there's that. They were getting hits. They were getting on base. So definitely something to build off of. Game 2 is tonight at 7:38 p.m. Eastern Time. Game 3 will be Thursday at 5:08 p.m. Eastern Time. Game 4 is Friday at 8:08 p.m. Eastern Time. And then Game 5, if needed, will be Saturday at 8:08 Eastern Standard Time. Game 6, if needed, will be Monday at 5:08 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And Game 7, if needed, will be Tuesday at 7:38 p.m. Eastern Time. Hopefully next Tuesday, we will still be talking about the Guardians. Tanner Bybee's on the mound tonight, so I expect that the Guardians will get the win tonight. And then they head back to Cleveland for the next 3. So we will see how it all plays out. To be honest, I will be happy no matter how this plays out, as long as the Guardians don't get swept. I need them to win at least one of these games. That's all I ask. I mean, I hope they win 4 and move on to the World Series, but I will be happy if they win 1. Now we have some Gold Glove finalists. A few Gold Glove finalists. Third baseman Jose Ramirez, left field Stephen Kwan, shortstop Brian Rocchio, and second baseman, no surprise there, Andres Jimenez are all Gold Glove finalists. So congratulations to the 4 of them. Much deserved. after that one catch that Stephen Kwan had in the ALDS against the Tigers, I said they should have just given him the gold glove right then and there. And Andres Gimenez has more than once shown that he deserves it. And the announcers, while I was watching the game last night, said they would not be surprised if he didn't win the platinum glove again this season because he is just that good. The Guardians did announce a couple of roster changes to the ALCS roster. They added pitcher Ben Lively in place of Alex Cobb, who is dealing with lower back soreness. So I'm wondering if that has something to do with the fall off in his pitching. Because like I said, he looked pretty solid in the first inning and it kind of fell off from there. Part of it could have just been lack of pitching because he hasn't been pitching all that often, but it definitely seemed like something changed. His pitches just were on and then they were off. So I definitely think that may have had something to do with it, or there's still some issues going on with his hand that kept him on the IL for a good portion of the last couple weeks of the season, but he is no longer on the ALCS roster and Ben Lively has replaced him. So tonight, good luck to the Guardians. Get that win and even up the series. I believe. We believe in you, Cleveland Guardians. We believe. That is going to wrap things up for basketball and baseball. I am going to take another short break, and when I come back, we will talk some hockey with the Monsters and the Columbus Blue Jackets. So stay right here listening to the Show of the Land with a Jenn B on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports, and I will be right back after this.
Hey sports fans, are you in the market for Florida sports or just keeping up with the latest in the Panhandle? Palm Tree Sports is a dedicated audio hub to all things sports in the Sunshine State. We cover current events, big news, heavily favored opinions all across the NFL, NBA, MLB, and so much more. So come check us out every Saturday evening at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for a down south education on Florida sports and athletics. It's hosted by yours truly, Corey Pujols, and is powered by IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Are you a fan of Buffalo sports? Are you thinking of changing loyalties and becoming a Buffalo sports fan? Do you even know where Buffalo is on the map? Did you know Canada is closer to Buffalo than New York City? Welcome to the Buffalo Huddle, every Tuesday night at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time and 4 p.m. Pacific Coast Time on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. I'm your host, Patty Bax. This is a podcast designed for you, the passionate sports fan. I know you love your sports. Who doesn't? I cover Buffalo sports and so much more by bringing in the human elements. I call it Buffalo Sports with a Twist. Join me as we take a journey into the world of Buffalo sports. I guarantee you'll fall in love with Buffalo just like I did. Each week we start with an inspiration, question of the day, a Buffalo fun fact, and our weekly challenge to you, the listener. Come huddle up with me. Tuesday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time and 4 p.m. Pacific Coast Time for the Buffalo Huddle with Patty Bax on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. As we say in Buffalo, go Bills!
You are listening to the Show of the Land with Jenn B on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Be sure to check out those shows you just heard about, the Buffalo Huddle with Patty Backs and Palm Tree Sports with Corey Poolhouse. Buffalo Huddle is on right after me at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and you could catch that over on Spreaker. And Palm Tree Sports is on Sundays. So be sure to check out those shows. Now, let's talk about some hockey. The Monsters started off the season against the AHL champion Hershey Bears. They played them on Saturday and on Sunday. Saturday, they lost 7-3. Rocco Grimaldi, Roman Akan, and Denton Matejchuk scored the 3 goals. And on Sunday, did we really? Hold on. I got to look at this because I think I might have typed the score wrong. But I might not have. Let me just double check because it's going to bother me. Okay, I did type it wrong. I thought so. They won the game on Sunday 6-3. Roman Akan, Trey Fix-Wolanski, and James Malatesta scored goals, as did Luca Del Belluz, who scored a hat trick. So congratulations to Luca and the Monsters on their first win of the season. The Monsters start the season at 1-1. And next, they will be playing the Charlotte Checkers on Friday and then again on Saturday. So good luck to the Monsters this weekend as they take on the Charlotte Checkers. Now, let's move on to the Columbus Blue Jackets. So the Blue Jackets started their season on Thursday against the Minnesota Wild. They lost 3-2, but they never gave up. They tried so hard to tie up that game and take it to overtime, but unfortunately they fell short. Kent Johnson and Zach Werenski scored the 2 goals for the Blue Jackets. Saturday, they took on the Colorado Avalanche and they won 6-4. Zach Werenski, Kent Johnson, Adam Fantilli, and it was his birthday on Saturday. Kirill Marchenko, Yegor Chinnikov, and Sean Monahan. It was also his birthday on Saturday. All scored goals. So Adam Fantilli and Sean Monahan both scored birthday goals in 6 goals by 6 different players. Wow. Quite the improvement from last season. They played great. They actually had, last I saw, I didn't see the final numbers, but last I saw, they had less shots on goal than the Avalanche did, but more on target, obviously, because they scored 2 more goals. So they won that 6-4 and start the season 1-1. Tonight is the home opener for the Columbus Blue Jackets, and they will be taking on the Florida Panthers. Right now, there is a remembrance taking place for Johnny and Maddie Gaudreau. Guy Gaudreau, Johnny and Maddie's father, is in Columbus, and actually skated with the team at practice yesterday. Um, I am going to watch this as soon as I finish the show up here. I have it recording because I knew I would still be in the middle of the show when it started. But the game itself, I believe, starts at 7. I did not mark down the time, but I believe the game starts at 7. It is going to be in a very emotional game for the Blue Jackets with the remembrance of Johnny and Maddie prior to the game. And of course, they have the number 13 on the ice behind each of the nets. Shout out to Marcus Losgreat, who just joined us in the chat. He is the host of Gloves Off, our hand-to-hand combat show that is currently on hiatus. But like I said, it's going to be a very heavy night for the Blue Jackets. Hopefully they can get the win against the Florida Panthers. But they will have Johnny in their hearts the entire game. After the home opener, their next games are Thursday against Patty's Buffalo Sabres, and then Saturday they will play the Minnesota Wild again for the second time this season. So I am going to wrap things up here so I can go catch that remembrance of Johnny Gaudreau here before the Guardians game starts at 7:38, and I will probably be flipping back and forth between the Guardians and the Blue Jackets game with more focus on the Guardians game, of course, because that one in the overall scheme of things matters more. But yeah, so good luck to the Blue Jackets and the Guardians tonight. The Blue Jackets against the Florida Panthers, and the Guardians, of course, against the New York Yankees in Game 2 of the ALCS. Catch me back here, same time, same place, next week for more on Cleveland and Columbus sports. We will talk about the Browns probably losing another game. We will see where the Guardians are in the ALCS, if it's still going on or not. We will talk some Mount Union football. Ohio State's not playing, and we will see how the Crew finished up the season and talk about what things look like for the playoffs. And we will talk about how the Cavs wrapped up the preseason and what to expect with the season opener that will be on next Wednesday. So have a great week, and thank you once again for joining me. Be sure to follow IE Sports Radio on all of the socials at IE Sports Radio, and you can follow me at Believe Land Girl and the show at Show of the Land IE on X. And up next, like I said earlier, is Patty Bax with the Buffalo Huddle, and you can catch her over on Spreaker. Have a great night and an even better week and weekend. I will catch you all next week on the Show of the Land with Jenn B on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.